Hey y'all, it's that time of year when we talk about our favorite thing, books. This year I'm going to try out a video format to talk a little bit about the books. I read 57 books this year. I'm not going to talk about 57. I want to pick out some of my favorites, tell you why they're my favorites, and hopefully that will give you some inspiration for your TBR to be read list for 2024. Let's get into it. This book, called The Violence, is a sci-fi thriller about a pandemic illness that causes people to have bouts of rage where they attack people, and it's called The Violence. We follow three characters in this book. I like it because it is funny, scary, and it gives a little bit of social commentary on the time where we live and why people don't believe scientists and things like that. It's unexpected. I think you'll like it if you like thrillers, and I think it's timely because it's right after a pandemic. This next title, Sweet, Soft, Plenty Rhythm, is a fun book to read if you like good storytelling. It's written about a jazz trumpeter named Circus Palmer, and he is a mess, y'all. But each chapter in the book follows the perspective of a different woman in his life. It's lively, it's gritty, it's just good storytelling. I will say the pacing of this book is not incredibly fast. So if you don't like to get into a story like that, then this may not be a book for you. But there is a bonus. There is a Spotify playlist that exists for this book because each character is inspired by a certain song and different music. This book is written by one of my favorite authors. I'm a huge fan of S.A. Cosby. His books are action-packed. You feel like you are watching a movie while you're reading, if that makes any kind of sense. This book, All Sinners Bleed, is about Titus Crown. He is the first black sheriff of a small rural county in Virginia, and there's a serial killer loose. He does everything he can to hunt this serial killer, as well as like resolving all these other kind of storylines that happen along the way. Again, this book is action-packed. Like, you, again, feel like you are watching an action movie. If you are sensitive to, you know, what serial killers do, this is not a book for you. This next book, Ripe, that's a picture of a pomegranate, by the way. It is a book that like makes you feel something. It is sad, relatable. Our main character, Cassie, is hustling and working in the rat race in Silicon Valley. It's what she dreamed of, but also it's not anything that she wants. It has a touch of magical realism in it. There's a little black hole that follows her around everywhere because she's so sad. Again, I think this book brings out a lot of emotions from all of us who are part of this rat race and working. I will say that if you are in a sad place and you hate working, this is not the book for you to read, or at least not the right time for you to read this book. But I enjoyed it. All right, this book is amazing. Within like the first 2-3 pages, you are already on level 10. This book is for those people who like to problem solve. You are caught up in the mix of a falling plane, and your goal is to make sure that, you know, to figure out how not to die and drown. T.J. Newman is a former flight attendant, the author, and her first book, called Falling, is about a plane crash as well. So guess who this book is not for? It's for people who have a fear of flying. But if you like to be on the edge of your seat and to solve problems and to get inside the mind of the characters of the book that you read, then this is a book for you. I love this next book. As you see, I have bought it a couple times. I mark it, I give it to people. It's called How to Keep House While Drowning. It's for, people who have all these things to do and you don't really know how to do it all. And this book teaches you that you don't have to know how. You just have to have systems in place. As a person who is raising teenagers and trying to help them develop systems to be successful adults, this book is amazing. The author is a licensed counselor, and she has ADD, so she writes this book with the neurodivergent mind in mind, and I just think it's amazing because it teaches you that you can do all the things. You just don't have to do them to like the level that you think you have to do them to be successful. If you're a person who like art and like museums like me, and have ever walked around a museum and just kind of wondered like, where are the Black people? This is a book for you. This book talks about all the Black artists and the people, the subject of art that are Black. Well, not all, but a lot of the Black artists and subjects of Black art that are kind of hidden in plain sight. It's funny, it's witty, it's beautiful. The art in the book is amazing. And it makes you feel like you are giving these people a voice, because a lot of those Black subjects of paintings and things don't have names, or we don't learn about Henry Ossabaw Tanner and all these other artists who were painting and creating beautiful works of art. So if you're an art lover, like museums, Zaria Ware has a really witty and funny book about Black art. All right, this book was a fun read, which feels weird to say because it's about a girl who gets kidnapped by a serial killer who then gets rescued and ends up on a mission to hunt and find another serial killer. Where my psychological thriller people at, this is for you. This book is just funny. It is a kind of jaunt around the country. Our main character has her own kind of shaky hidden past, and yeah, it's fun. It's a fun read. I will say there is a plot device that I kind of don't like. Sometimes that happens. It's the like super smart person steps in to answer all the questions and solve all the problems. But excuse me, the book is fun, and I think that that's the ultimate goal to get out of the book. And it's a unique kind of news story that I hadn't heard before. This book is a sneak attack for me. I did not realize I was going to like this book as much as I did. It's about Christopher Thomas Knight, called, also known as the North Pond Hermit, who essentially walked away from his life when he was 20 years old and never spoke to another human again for 27 years. He lives in the woods out in Maine, and he eventually gets caught living out there, which is why we have this story. But the author does a great job of examining like what kind of person would do this, and also it asks the reader to challenge their idea of what is normal and what compromises you have to make as a person to exist in the society that we have today. It was a fascinating read. Where are all my misanthropes? All right. Okay, a lot of the reading I do is to escape, and John Scalzi is a great writer for that. He writes a lot of science fiction. This isn't my favorite of his, but, it's the only one I read of his this year, so it is one of my favorites of the year. It is about a guy who inherits a super villain business from his estranged uncle, and he has no idea what he's doing. It's fun, it's witty, it's fast-paced. There are all these cool things like super spy talking cats on along the way, and yeah, it's a good book for an escape. And if you like science fiction, I have a whole bunch of recommendations for books like this if you're interested. All right. Tananarive Due's book is a great piece of writing. It's not the book to read if you are trying to escape more stories about injustice and Black trauma, but she is a formidable writer in the Black horror genre, which makes the book just amazing in itself. All right. It's about a young boy, Robbie Stevens, during the Jim Crow era in Florida. He gets in trouble for kicking a white boy who tried to like sexually advance on his sister, and he gets sent to this reformatory school, which, as you can imagine, is horrible. But Robbie has the ability to kind of see dead people. I don't know. Anyway, but it comes into a huge play in the story. It's based off of her own uncle, the author's uncle, who actually does get sent to a reformatory school. And it's just heartwarming and great writing. And it's a long one. It's 500 plus pages, but it's a good one. All right, and this book is my feel-good story. Sometimes I just want to read a book that is not full of violence, not full of sex, not full of drama. It's just a really good, kind of heartwarming story. And this book, Where the Forest Meets the Stars, is that book. It is about this girl who kind of shows up on the like doorstep of these two neighbors, this man and this lady, and the little girl just says that no, I'm an alien. I'm not. I just found this body, and I need to experience 5 miracles, and right, and then the story kind of follows the harsh kind of clashing that goes back and forth with what you believe. Like, do we believe this girl? Is she just a runaway? Is she a crazy person? It is just a heartwarming story about humankind and found family, and it is a good palate cleanser from all of the horror and killing and drama and all of that. So if you need that, this is a book for that. So there you have it. Hopefully I was able to push through this cold I'm going through right now and talk about books. I like to talk about books, so anytime I'm up for it. If you want more tips to read more, to be fair, you don't have to read more. If you want to read more, there's no certain amount that you should be reading as long as you're reading. But if you want to read more, I have tips. I think on TikTok, I'll do some of those book things, and I'll post like the books that I'm looking forward to in the new year. I have weekdays, I have weekends and weekdays.com where I talk about things that I'm reading. Let's talk about some books, guys. Happy reading in 2024.